Well, here we are again, and this is the front of our engine, and this is not where this bracket belongs. Now, when you were watching me struggle to figure out how this went in here, I always, in my mind, I imagine that there's some of you who are out there throwing things at your screen or yelling at me, going, hey, that's not where that goes. You're right, it's not. So power steering pump goes here, has its own bracket. It's out there in the Jeep graveyard. It's dirty, filthy, messy, oily. I got to bring it in, clean it up, get it on here. And then our distributor goes in here, but before we put the distributor in, what we have to do is get cylinder number 1 over here at top dead center, so we can figure out where our cylinder, or our distributor arm ignition pointer thing goes, and I'm sure that's the technical term for that. So much to do up here. Got to get our vibration dampener back on. Got to get a thermostat housing back on, our oil filler, all kinds of stuff up here. And we'll plan out where we're going to start to bolt up some of that stuff we need to get on this firewall. So that's probably the bulk of what we're going to do today. I got a little bit of work left to do on drive shafts, and work to do on the exhaust system. As I pointed out the other day, I bought a little fitting to go in between inside of my pipes so that my output of my muffler will fit the muffler, the exhaust tip. Those are both the same diameter. And there's some welding to do there, and my welding skills, as we've seen, have proved to be a little rusty. So I'm not going to bore you watching me practice weld, but I am going to back the car out and leave the door open so smoke can get out. And I've got some about 1/8 inch steel plate. I'm going to cut me some strips of that, overlap them, because that'll be the kind of weld that I'm doing, is an overlap weld. So I'm going to overlap those and practice my welding skills back up, because I know I can do better than I did on that last go round. So again, this is not where this is supposed to be. We'll fix that. I think it goes over here to hold, work with the alternator, whatever. We'll sort it out. Have no fear. We have it all on video, how it all came apart. So that's a nice thing. So let's get wound up and go do that, shall we? All right, well, I rummaged around out in the Jeep graveyard and found the old clutch linkage, the power steering pump and its associated brackets, and the battery tray. So we're going to start on this battery tray, but it doesn't take me long to lose interest in this thing. All right, well, I started working on this clutch linkage a little bit, but it all feels all darn near worn out. And obviously somebody's cobbled together an extension over here on this side. So I went upstairs and I was looking to see if I could get a new battery tray. I can, and I can get a full replacement of this as well. So I've ordered those. So that leaves me with this guy to clean up and work over. And I'm going to do that because I can find the pump. I could replace the pump if I need to, but the brackets and all that, I don't seem to be finding those anywhere. So I'll just get dirty, clean this mess up, see what we got. So I'll set you up, let you look over my shoulder while I do this, because it ought to be entertaining as we clean this mess up. All right, well, here we have it. Proof that underneath that layer of dirt and oil and years and years of accumulation of gunk, the metal still exists. So here we go. There's our power steering bracket, a pretty good chunk of it. There's one more piece that I still have to get off. I'm gonna have to pull the pulley off the pump before I can get there. But you see, I've got these two pieces all primered up. They're ready to have some AMC blue stuck on there, and we'll be ready to go with those. So let's get them painted, shall we? Well, I got to tell you, I was unprepared for the amount of these blue shop towels I would go through doing this job. So anyway, here's my power steering brackets all painted up, just doing some drying here. And again, it's just always surprising how you start digging under all the dirt and stuff, and the original steel is still under there, or in this case, cast aluminum, but it's still under there and it cleans up quite nicely. All right, well, I got a lot to bring you up to speed on. So you did see me grinding away on that old battery box that I had here. And when I started to really get some of the grime and the rust and the corrosion off that thing, I realized it was just a couple of pieces of like 2-inch angle iron that somebody had kind of welded together. And it almost looked bad enough welding that I could have done it because it looked pretty shady. So I decided to spring for a new battery bracket. I got that today, and with there's one more bracket that goes here on the bottom down to the firewall. So we'll be able to get that in place and have a nice sturdy, decent looking place to put our battery on the firewall, and we'll do that before we get anything else really on that firewall, but that's part of that process of getting everything mapped out there. I had kind of a little bit of good luck on exhaust system stuff. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So we started out with our exhaust collector that goes on our header collector and drops down to this size here. Now this goes inside of our 2.5 inch inside diameter, I think it is, on our exhaust pipe or on our muffler. So that'll go inside of there. That will get a little weld right around here, seal that up. And then I think I mentioned we'll drill a hole on one of these for our oxygen sensor. But I found that, again, when I was looking at these, the exhaust output and the exhaust tip were the exact same size. So I found a fitting that would go inside of here, and this fitting is a 2.5 inch inside diameter and 2.5 inch outside diameter. So I think this is the outside diameter 2.5 inch side, this is the 2.5 inch inside. Anyway, that slides inside of there. So what I did then next is I ran back down to the parts store and I got me a length of 2.5 inch inside diameter pipe, so that now I have enough to cut me off a section of pipe. I can weld it into the output side of the muffler here, and then I'll have what I need to slip my exhaust tip over that and clamp that down. Again, that'll keep us from having to try to weld our shiny tip here, and we'll only have one clamp in the mix. And this clamp will be where we'll try to put a hanger of some sort to kind of support this back end of the thing underneath the tub. So I have what I need now to get my exhaust system sorted out. And because I have a couple of extras of these now, these were about $4.50, $5 a piece, I can kind of cut me some pieces of this that are sacrificial pieces because I have plenty to work with, and get my welder out and kind of make sure I can weld this 1/8 inch stuff and kind of get it dialed in and get my rusty welding skills a little tuned up before I start doing it for real on the muffler, because as we've seen, I've been struggling with that a little bit. And I did have some real thin plate that I tried to do just some overlap welding, and I just kept burning through it. I had my welder turned down as low as it go. I just kept burning through it. So obviously I'm gonna weld this, kind of practice this up, and if I'm not doing a good enough job, I might run it down to a muffler shop and have somebody professionally weld it for me. We'll see. I don't want to do that if I don't have to, but it's got to look good. You're going to be able to see it, so it can't look all that bad under there. But I have plenty of pieces now to get through that. So the exhaust system components are ready to go. I've got my power steering bracket pieces all cleaned up, primered, and painted with our blue paint. And they've been this way for a couple of days, so they're all cured up nice and dry, so they're ready to go. I bought a new power steering pump because I dropped my old one, and the straight piece of tube that comes out the back that you just slide a hose over is now all bent, and I think as soon as I bend it back, I'm going to break it off. So rather than trying to clean it up and deal with it and all that kind of stuff, and as memory serves, I kind of think it might have been making some noise a little bit anyway when I turned the steering wheel. I was like, whatever, at this point, Don, just buy a new power steering pump. So I did. It's not here yet, but what is here so far is the new pulley to go on the thing, and I did get a new set of hoses as well. So I've got new hoses to put on there to put the new pump on. And so I'll wrap all this up as I get all these parts all gathered up. I'll do my thing and try to remember to put them down in the description below. But I also ordered a new oil filler extender, riser, whatever you want to call it, breather thing for the intake manifold. So this goes into the intake manifold, and then obviously you pull this lid off, and that's where you put your oil in when you're putting some oil in there. And I don't know if you can see it very well in the plastic here, but it is kind of ribbed on the top, and I think that's going to look much like our ribbed valve covers. So hopefully, stylistically, that'll look pretty good. So the vibration dampener is another thing that I got to get on here. I got to get that back on the front of the crankshaft. I'm looking for my bolt that goes into the crankshaft. I'll have to track that down. But that will give me something to then kind of get a hold of to turn the crankshaft. And what I have to do that for is I've got my distributor ready to start going in as we're putting these components back on the block. And as I was reading through the manual for the distributor, what you're supposed to do is get cylinder 1 to top dead center, line your distributor up with where it needs to go to be firing the ignition off for cylinder 1, and then that's how you know it's in the right spot, keyed in properly and so forth. And then in addition to the distributor, kind of on the other end on the bottom is our oil pump and our oil filter holder here. So I've got those to put back on, and our sending unit for oil pressure. So we're going to be in the front of this motor putting a lot of stuff back on this block pretty soon. However, I may miss a weekend here working on this thing, so if you miss a week and there's nothing posted, bear with me, because my father's turning 90 this year, so we're all the siblings are getting together going up to Montana. I wish him a happy birthday. So I might miss a weekend traveling up to the frosty North Country, but I will try to get back and keep things rolling along here, and hopefully before it's all warm and toasty in the valley here, while it's still winter, we can get a lot of this engine work done, start to get our fenders and our grill and our radiator and our hood and all that stuff put back on, so we can start working inside the tub on the dash, the gauges, the pedals, the seats, all that stuff. So there we have it. I'm going to go for now, but stick with me, and again, don't panic if I miss a week. I'm going to try not to. I'm trying to kind of get a little bit ahead, but if I do miss a week, I'll be back, and I'm just up in Montana.